Hey everyone, we just got some absolutely massive news dropping today. The CEO over at Canary Capital literally just went on record confirming that their XRP ETF filing, they're expecting that bad boy to launch next week. Like, I'm not even talking weeks or months here, we're talking days. Literally a handful of days away from this happening. You've got the head honcho of one of these firms straight up telling everyone, yep, our SPOT XRP ETF should be going live any minute now. This is actually real, people. And honestly, this is pretty incredible when you think about it. Here's the part you really need to wrap your head around. These SPOT XRP ETFs are backed by the real deal. Actual XRP tokens sitting there. So when someone decides to buy into that ETF, there's genuine XRP backing it up behind the scenes. Which means it's directly messing with the supply and demand equation for XRP itself. Even just looking at the short term here, like this current market cycle we're in, this is absolutely going to move the needle. The demand is going to blow past what everyone's currently predicting. Why am I so confident about this? Simple. Every time something XRP related hits the market, we watch the same thing happen. People show up in droves. So yeah, we'll definitely feel the effects during this cycle. But listen, the part that really gets me excited, it's not even about right now. The genuinely game-changing stuff is going to play out across years, even decades down the road. Picture this massive wave of capital slowly building up and crashing into XRP over that long stretch. Money that would have never touched XRP before these vehicles existed. Those coins are going to get scooped up like crazy. And there literally isn't enough XRP sitting around for everyone who wants a piece. At least, not while prices look like this. All right, quick pause though, because I've got to get something off my chest before we keep rolling. My background? Zero finance credentials. Nothing I'm throwing out here counts as financial advice, and seriously, don't go making buy or sell decisions because of what's coming out of my mouth or keyboard. Okay, so this just became real, like officially real. We're looking at the verified Canary Capital account on X right now. And yesterday, literally just one day ago, they put out this teaser. Get ready. Canary XRP ETF XRPC is coming soon. Now, when I first saw that, I thought soon was just marketing speak, you know? Could be weeks, could be months. But then I saw this report from Crypto Briefing and my jaw dropped. Canary Capital expects to launch XRP ETF next week, says CEO. Canary Capital aims to launch a spot XRP exchange-traded fund next week, following the debut of its Litecoin and Hedera ETFs last week, according to CEO Stephen McClurg. We just launched the first two ETFs last week, and we're hoping to launch an XRP ETF next week. That's Stephen McClurg, the CEO, not holding back at all. So here's what's wild about this moment. Canary Capital is actually racing to become the first company ever to launch a spot XRP ETF in the United States. Look, this is happening whether you're ready or not. We're talking a matter of days here, maybe a week tops. All right, let me keep breaking this down because the next section actually reveals the behind-the-scenes process of how they're fast-tracking this whole thing. Explaining the regulatory pathway that enables the launch, McClurg stated that, with generic listing standards now approved, asset managers can launch ETFs in the U.S. if there are 6 months of futures activity for a token, such as on Binomial. The filing process involved two options: a delay amendment, which requires the Securities and Exchange Commission to make the fund effective, or a no-delay amendment, which automatically goes effective in 20 days. And here's where McClurg gets really interesting with his explanation. It says a no-delay amendment is basically when you become a little bit more comfortable. If you're comfortable with your filing, which we are, and you file a no-delay amendment, then that means that you automatically go effective in 20 days. And that's where he stops. So there you have it. That's their entire roadmap. And when you actually understand it, it's not complicated at all. Now, thinking back to these other cryptocurrencies in their pipeline, there was definitely more than just XRP waiting in line. For sure, we had HBAR and Litecoin already making their debut. I'm reasonably certain Solana was tucked in there somewhere too. Could have been one more joining the party, but yeah, I'm betting that whole lineup belonged to Canary's roster. But here's what made those other ones go live so fast. Canary skipped the delay amendment entirely. And think about the timing here, right? The government shutdown was already underway, which meant the SEC basically had their hands tied anyway. So anyone who left that delay amendment in their paperwork, they were stuck in limbo until the SEC staff came back from the shutdown. And guess what? That still hasn't even happened. And once they do return, oh man, they're going to be drowning in paperwork trying to play catch up. Sure, those delayed filings will eventually get the thumbs up, but this is where it gets clever. By using the no delay route, the ETF just activates on its own like clockwork. I really felt like I needed to make this video because, look, all those theories floating around, they were actually dead on accurate. So what changed is that Canary now has the confidence to pursue this strategy with XRP specifically. Before, they weren't touching it, but now they went ahead and stripped out that delay amendment. And here's the timeline. They made that official move on October 24th. You're looking at the actual filing right here, dated October 24th, 2025. That's the paperwork for Canary's XRP ETF sitting right in front of us. Now do some quick math. Tack on 20 days from that filing date. What does that give us? We land on November 13th. So look, when I threw out that speculation about it going live, I wasn't just making wild guesses here. There was actual substance behind what I was saying, all right? Plus, I tossed in that extra bit about the shutdown wrapping up early. And if that happened, well, you might have gotten your approval even quicker. Small chance, but still worth mentioning. Now here's where it gets interesting. Could the SEC technically pull the plug on this? Yeah, they've got that power tucked away. But let me tell you why that's not happening. Paul Atkins, the new SEC chair, he's actually digging this whole setup. The way he put it, and I'm translating this into normal speak, he sees this as getting back to basics. He appreciates that it's just a straightforward, automatic process. You drop your filing, clock starts ticking, waiting period runs out, and bam, you're good to go. So here's my take. Sure, they could theoretically slam the brakes on this thing. But will they? Come on. The probability of the SEC actually interfering here is basically non-existent. I mean, yeah, on paper it's possible, but I'm not exactly holding my breath waiting for that to happen. Here's another twist in this whole saga. Other companies are basically seeing what's happening and going, yeah, we want in on that too. 21 Shares threw their hat in the ring ages ago with their spot XRP ETF filing. There's this headline making the rounds. 21 Shares XRP ETF filing sparks frenzy. Is a God candle coming next? All right, that God candle business, let's skip right past that. I'm not diving into price talk or trading speculation today. What actually matters is the filing details everyone's buzzing about. People keep circling back to what Eric Balchunas pointed out. If you don't know him, he's the senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg. Basically, your ETF encyclopedia walking around. He snagged a screenshot directly from 21 Shares filing documents for their XRP ETF and dropped this. 21 Shares just dropped an 8A for their spot XRP ETF. 20-day clock in effect. He posted that last night, if you're keeping track. So 21 Shares won't be breaking the tape first here, unless the SEC pulls some kind of mass approval situation where they just wave everything through at once. But regardless, their official countdown started yesterday. That 20-day window is already running. That one's getting the green light, no question. Canary's basically already got the gold medal sewn up here. Meanwhile, these other firms have been stuck in the slow lane for reasons I can't quite figure out. Were they asleep at the wheel? Did they just not see this coming? Your guess is as good as mine. But look, now there's yet another company tossing their application into the pile. And they're definitely not alone anymore. Suddenly, everybody and their uncle is racing down this exact same road. We're talking about an absolute avalanche of XRP ETFs hitting the scene this month. You can bet your bottom dollar on that happening. Check out what just dropped. Franklin Templeton XRP ETF registered with U.S. Depository under ticker XRPZ. So they've officially kicked things into gear too. I mean, when I say it's live, what I really mean is their paperwork's officially rolling now, if that makes sense. All right, pull this up on your screen. Bank XRP, one of the community folks who tracks this stuff closely, laid out all the details. His post said, Franklin Templeton just filed Amendment 3 for its Franklin XRP Trust XRPZ Spot XRP ETF, aiming to trade on NYSE Arca, holds XRP. Directly. Custody is Coinbase Trust. Uses CME-CF XRP USD benchmark for pricing. 0.19% sponsor fee. Waived on first $5 billion assets under management till May 2026. But here's where it gets juicy. The part you really need to hear. Amendment 3 equals final polish before approval. Institutional XRP access is getting real. He nailed it with that observation, by the way. Then, in a follow-up message, he came back with this gem. Franklin Templeton's XRPZ ETF now listed on DTCC after latest S1 amendment. So this is really gaining momentum now. Let me explain the DTCC real quick, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Picture it as the essential machinery that processes settling and clearing across U.S. securities markets. Once an ETF pops up on their radar, which just happened with XRP, it signals they're laying down all the groundwork. I'm talking ticker reserved, technical infrastructure being wired up, and settlement channels put in place. So yeah, that's where we're at. Things are legitimately progressing here. We're witnessing this live. This is genuinely taking shape. Here's the wild part, though. Gensler and the SEC went hard trying to wipe out XRP, yet the exact reverse occurred. It secured legal clarity, and now everything's advancing smoothly. XRP brings actual utility. It's among the original frontrunners in crypto territory, clearly sticking around long term. Then there's this coverage from Bitcoin Census. Wisdom Tree files for CoinDesk 20 ETF, broadening crypto exposure in Wall Street. This one's worth your attention. They're highlighting a statement from Nate Garaci. The guy's president over at Novadeus Wealth, previously known as the ETF store. ETFs are basically his whole game. His take goes like this. Wisdom Tree files for CoinDesk 20 ETF will hold 20 largest digital assets by market cap that are eligible for inclusion in index. It's clear CoinDesk aggressively seeking to position within crypto indexing space, which I think will be massive. Yeah, totally aligned with his perspective there. Oh, and guess what? XRP is part of the package. It qualified for inclusion. You know what though? These multi-coin ETFs are about to shake things up massively. Here's the thing. The assets already dominating are going to see insane momentum because they'll be packed into these hot ETFs. And boom, exponential capital inflows. You were already winning because the market voted with their wallets. Now you've got fresh investors jumping in who want crypto exposure but aren't going to analyze every single token out there, which honestly makes total sense. They're after that diversified entry point. Translation, even bigger waves of money heading straight to XRP. So you're on top, which magnifies your money magnet effect. Winners keep stacking wins. Wild stuff, right? Well, XRP holders are probably celebrating hard right now, since this fund's going to have XRP in the mix along with other major players. But make no mistake, XRP's locked in. Okay, so buckle up because these investment vehicles are about to become the hottest thing on the block, and I'll tell you exactly why. There's this massive group of people who are like, look, I want to jump into crypto, but opening a Coinbase account, wrestling with self-custody nonsense, yeah, that's a hard pass for me. They're after one thing, exposure, plain and simple. And honestly, zero judgment here. If that's your lane, cruise right down it. Think of it this way. Imagine you're grabbing an ETF that mirrors the S&P 500. Boom, instant access to the entire stock market wrapped up in one neat package. That's not cutting corners, that's being strategic. You're not burning the midnight oil digging through financial reports on 500 different companies, yet somehow you've got a stake in every last one of them. Does that make you reckless? Please, that's ridiculous. What you're actually doing is backing the heavy hitters, the absolute best in class. And guess who's chilling in that lineup? XRP. Plus, here's a fun little truth bomb for you. Liquidity begets liquidity, my friends. It's like watching dominoes fall in the best possible way. But real quick before we wrap, I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say, right? That would be an epically bad move on your part. Cool. See you next time.